to discuss all the brand restructuring. And I have an award-winning business solution professional and strategist and a Tony Elumelu entrepreneur on the show today. And she is Nkechi Alade, the principal consultant at Elvaridah. Did I pronounce it properly? Oh God! You're supposed to give me shakara now. You know how you Welcome, Nkechi. Welcome. It's great to have you in the studio today. How you doing? I hope this rain did not touch you at all because you still look well put together. looking chocolate.
Well, thank you. I hope you're good as well.
I'm well. I'm trying to keep my body and soul together. It's not been easy moving from Ireland to mainland, back from mainland to Ireland. And of course, I forgot to mention that today is my son's birthday. Anyway, you guys hang in there. Thank you. All right, tell us who Nkechi Alade is. How did you become the strategist that you are today?
Okay, my name is Nkechi Alade, as you have rightly said. And I would say my career started from when I was a younger girl. So I realized early that I had a knack for finding solutions to people's problems, especially when it came to business. So I would say maybe I started to realize this around 15, 16.
Okay.
So I was just very interested. Okay. My mom was like a serial businesswoman, so she was always doing tailoring or fashion. There was always something, and I was always looking for, okay, how can we make this better? How can we make this faster? How can we make customers, more, more satisfied, better satisfied with the products? And in school, university days, every summer, I always worked because I was just fascinated with, what really made businesses successful. So I found myself working in different industries. I did HR, I did government, I did financial institution, I did fashion. And for NYSC, my job was actually to set up a business. So my NYSC year, I built a business from 0 to 1, and which was really amazing for me. So I realized that, especially here in Nigeria, the reason why a lot of businesses are not succeeding is because they haven't gotten the fundamentals right. So people are focusing their attention on, how am I going to get money? But money is as a result of certain things that must be in place, right? You must be able to give value. You must be able to find the right customers. You must be able to communicate effectively. So with all of these things, I started to do this personally. And I saw that, hey, we can actually build a full-fledged business out of this. And really, we went into it. And that's where we are today.
And I must add that you're doing pretty well because I also noted, or should I say notice on your profile that you are a Tony Elumelu entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And what made you, the question is, what made you achieve that feat from a pool of African entrepreneurs with scorching ideas?
Well, I would say truly I applied. I don't know how else to say this, but I did apply for it. And I just say answering the questions and just honestly knowing what exactly I wanted to do. And, the thing about investment or funding that a lot of business owners forget is you have to first of all believe in yourself before other people can.
True.
So you must believe in yourself and be able to communicate that, because people invest in you, not what you're doing. That's what people tend to forget. Because, the market can change, environment can change, but you're not supposed to change. So if they're investing in you, they're believing that even if it becomes turbulent, you're going to figure out a way to get through. So yeah, but that's a different conversation.
All right. So I picked something from your statement. I said, your market can change, but you are not supposed to change. We are getting there. I have a question for you. All right. But so talking about brand restructuring, I've been hearing that back and forth. So what is brand restructuring for those who are listening, who do not understand? And what are the types of brand restructuring as well?
Okay, so before you even talk about brand restructuring, you have to have a brand, right? So a lot of times people just start business. Maybe they come across an opportunity. They start to sell, they start to make money. People don't particularly have any brand identity. So before you can restructure, you even need to have an identity. So I would start from there. In your business, have you been able to define for yourself what you want to be known for? How do you want people to feel when they come across your brand? What emotion are you going for? What are you trying to trigger, right? It's beyond just now your colors, your logo, your font. These things form a part of it, but you must be able to intentionally have what is called a brand strategy at the beginning of your business. Now, if you didn't have one when you were starting and you have gotten to a particular level and you feel like, hey, we have the market, we have the numbers, we have the people, but we haven't been able to properly align ourselves in the market. People cannot say this is who we are, this is what we're known for, and this is, the value we're trying to give to them. That is where you start to project what we're now talking about, which is brand restructuring. So you want to sit down and ask yourself very vital questions. Who am I serving? Why am I serving them? What exactly do I want them to get out of this product or service? How do I want them to feel? Because bearing in mind that there are different kind of brands and there are different levels of people. So this is not even just a function of what you're charging. If you're charging a higher price, maybe you're a luxury brand. So there's a certain way that a luxury brand has to be perceived. If you're selling a brand that is more everyday, there's a way it's going to be perceived. And who exactly are you trying to target? At what point in their lives are they? So it's there's a step-by-step that one needs to take, but you must first of all evaluate your business, see where it is right now, determine where you want to be, and then fill in the gap, which is where you are, where you need to be, and then build on from there.
All right. Many thanks for that submission. While you were talking, obviously you've mentioned the objectives of brand restructuring. So my question now is, what does it do to your brand, or brands and businesses? Because most times I don't know if people really understand what it means to apply all of these things to their businesses or to their brand.
It really helps you to position yourself and to last long in the industry. So I'll talk about something called a brand plan.
Okay.
A lot of times we talk about business plans, which are fantastic and phenomenal, by the way. But one thing that a lot of businesses do not consider is having a brand plan. So you can actually be making money, but you're no longer relevant, which is what happens to a lot of businesses that do not develop their brand. So you might think about a lot of brands. Of course, I wouldn't mention them, but if you think back from growing up, a lot of brands that we knew back then that are no longer in existence today. Not every business crumbles because they are not making money. Some, yes, but some because they do not have a brand plan. There's no brand. Usually, when people want to buy a brand, for example, a business that isn't doing so well, they might value you based on the brand, not because of how much you have in your bank. That's how important a brand is. People should be able to say, oh, this is the brand. This brand, I know this brand. You should be able to have a plan. In the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, as your market is growing in terms of age, how are you going to be able to make sure that your business is also growing? Because your customers can outgrow your brand. It's very possible. And that's a part where a lot of business owners don't pay attention to.
So let me apply growing your brand to digital consumption that we are in these days. There are quite a number of people out there that you will see that, yes, they are a brand on their own, but at the same time, they do not have enough followers, because I feel that most organizations have used that to determine who they want to bring on board. How do you advise such people?
When you say trying to bring on board in terms of doing business with them?
Yeah.
Well, the truth is this. There are different approaches to these things. So if a brand wants to do business with someone, maybe the person is supposed to be an influencer. You want to understand, okay, why exactly do you want to engage this person? It's not always about how many people you have, but the quality of the people on that page.
Exactly.
You can have 100,000 followers, and they are not the kind of people that should be on that page.
Exactly.
Now, when you sell, that brand might not convert. You might have 1,000 followers or 100 followers that really, 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 really genuinely like you and believe in what you're doing. And then you market the product, and all of a sudden it goes.
It goes.
So yeah. So I wouldn't just judge just based on the numbers, but the quality of the people that are following.
Thank you for adding to that. I think it's important for me to quickly open the phone lines. Please call us on 0700 923 923 923. Again, 0700 923 923 923. And of course, you can WhatsApp us on 0817 313 6193. Let's hear your perspective of the topic at hand. If you have any question for my guests, please go ahead. This is the right time for you, that I have brought you value for money, where you can grow your brand. So please, let's call in and send in your messages if you have any comments, any queries, everything. So, Nkechi, we are surviving out of global pandemic, and jobs have been lost, and there's increase in inflation and worse economic situation everywhere. And so my question is, how would you advise a brand to in terms of restructuring, and how can they play out in a positive way in such scenario after a post-pandemic?
So one of the things we did during and after the pandemic was really rework or restructure the businesses, that we have as clients, because the climate has changed. The world has changed, and we all need to really realize that. So it has changed, and you need to accept that it has changed. So the time for denying it has passed. It's accepting it and then being able to build, okay, so what's next? So what I would say that you need to do is, first of all, do your research. See, research is so important in any market that we're in now. What exactly is the world up to? How have your customers changed? Your consumers have changed. The kind of things that influenced them before are not influencing them anymore. Before, it was difficult to just probably go online and just buy food from somebody you don't know. But now it's easier because there was a period where we were all locked up at home and we couldn't go anywhere. So if you go online and you see something that looks juicy, you will buy. You would go, you see somebody selling clothes, you will buy. People were they're taking more risks. So you have to understand that your consumers have changed. So you too, you need to change. You need to make sure that your business now has a better flow in terms of your buyer journey, your customer acquisition. All those things to be considered. It's no longer business as usual. Yes, the economy has changed. But what I've also seen is that in as much as, yes, things are changing, there's still money, there's still a market, there's still people. People are still buying houses every day, people are still buying cars every day, people are still traveling, buying planes. But you just need to be able to find who your market is. And there's something I strongly believe in, which is mindset. So I always say this to people I work with. Your mind would definitely determine the next steps you take as a person. And who you are and how you are would influence your business either positively or negatively. The people who work with you or for you or under you, they're looking up to you for the energy. You're going to bring in the vibe, the positive vibe. If you wake up every day with negativity, there's no money in this country,
never be motivated.
Unfortunately, you wouldn't see it because opportunities are there, but you have to be able to see them. Opportunities don't particularly jump, into your face. You need to be able to identify this opportunity. How do I maximize
There are even
this?
Opportunities when you are in problems, in challenges,
Exactly.
So, listening to you thus far, it's important that I also ask this question about, how more often you see restructuring causes employees to panic, to wonder how the change or the changes will affect their workflow. So their workflow or their job security or any new models that the organization might be bringing on board. So what advice do you have for such people, especially when they're in panic?
For the employees now?
Yes, for the employees.
The truth is this, right? Post this pandemic, a lot of people have actually lost their jobs. So what I would advise, people who are workers working with small, medium scale or larger organizations is try and add some relevant skills to what you already have. There are some jobs or some roles that are getting redundant, but it's important that people start to add new skills so that they're able to boost themselves. So it's not just what they had before, but then they're able to market themselves. Say, hey, this organization is tilting towards this way. Maybe I need to learn a little bit of IT. Maybe I need to learn a little bit of copywriting. Maybe I need to learn a little bit of this or that. You want to infuse as much technology as you can because the world is changing. So if you're going to have to work from home, what benefits are you bringing into that organization? Because every cost that the company is trying to make now, they want to be able to justify it. They need to be able to justify it. So I would say add more skills to ensure that you remain relevant in the sector or in the company that you're currently working.
All right. Depending on the size of the organization, I know that there are quite a number of challenges out there, especially when it comes to public image that you've been talking about. At the beginning, there's always a shift. So the restructuring sometimes, leaves customers and the public in a general question of what does the future of the company holds. So my question is, how do brands, especially brand owners to be precise, manage public expectations with regards to restructuring?
So, yes, sometimes when people are restructuring, maybe their client base are like, oh, what's going on here? But communication is very important. So if you're looking to make certain changes in your organization, switch up your game, communicate with your clients. Let them know, oh, this is what we're doing. This is what we're working on. Let them not get into panic mode and think, oh, these people have shut down or something is wrong. Inform them, hey, we're making some changes. We're going to be unavailable for this period, that period. We're introducing new services. We're discontinuing this so that they are aware and they don't assume. Because when they start to assume, that's when people start to panic and then that's why you see maybe people are rushing to certain organizations. I want my money. I want this. I want that. Because they're afraid that somebody somewhere is not letting them know what exactly is going on.
All right. So brand consistency. I know that is very key for any organization, even for an individual when it comes to brand consistency. So is it about making sure that your brand, comes out in a way in terms of value, in terms of image, in terms of, how you message your clients, especially when it comes to how you use your channels. Basically, we are in a digital world right now. So some customers prefer consistency to restructuring. That instead of you saying you want to restructure your organization, why don't you continue at the path that you've started in terms of consistency? So how do we strike a balance from these two areas, especially where we are in a place that we just want to be in our comfort zone? We are not ready to embrace change, really.
Okay, so I'll first of all say that nothing grows in the comfort zone. So you need to step out of your comfort zone.
Okay.
And when it comes to consumers or customers, a lot of times people don't even know what they need until you present it to them.
Okay.
So in terms of consistency is good. However, if there's something wrong or something that needs to be changed, then it should be changed. You cannot consistently continue doing what is not working.
Sure.
It's not going to help your business.
Sure.
So if you have evaluated, what your services or your products, and you see that, hey, we need to restructure, we need to get things in place properly. Like I said, communicate to these people. And as much as possible, let them know that these are the steps you're taking. And once you come back into business, build a proper, I would say consistency plan or execution plan, so that everything, there's more balance. Balance is maintained. So it's not that every day you're restructuring, because that's another problem. Restructuring is not done every day. So evaluate, research. Before you create your restructuring plan, ensure you're ready to execute. And once you do that, evaluate along the line. Nothing is cast in stone. There's no strategy that is forever. Strategy is fluid. It changes.
All right. So this is a follow-up question in my head, because I understand that, bankruptcy, accusation, and will I say mergers, and repositioning have occurred under the umbrella of most of our Nigerian banks, which is part of the restructuring that we are talking about. Yeah. So could we say that this is a reason why some of the brands, especially the Nigerian banks, are restructuring?
Now, restructuring can come as a result of different things. So in some cases, maybe for the banks, some of them might be a case of maybe huge debts, and they need to be taken over by a bigger, bank or something, so that they are able to still continue performing their duties. Because sometimes they're not liquid anymore.
We have the likes of Airtel. Kike, did you just say that? Just to find a balance, so that I'm listening to you. I'm learning too.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
Okay. So that's really where. So it depends on what exactly is causing that restructuring. And then once you identify what it is, you need to start working on it immediately, because that's where you see acquisition comes in. So instead of let's say the bank or the company going down, it's taking over. There's a merger. There's an acquisition. There's a partnership. Something happens, so that the customer or the consumer is not left out in the cold. They still bring them in under another umbrella and ensure that it is seamless.
So bringing them under umbrella, again, I hate to use give an example of organization, so that it doesn't look as if you're calling anybody out, but we've seen the likes of Access Bank and all of that, merging together. When such organizations merge from one bank or the other, even Eco International Bank becoming Sky Bank at some point, do they still align with the vision of the organization? And if no, who holds them accountable?
That's a very, very, very amazing question, because when, people choose certain brands or certain banks, you choose them for certain reasons, right? If you walk on the road and you see so many banks, there's a reason there's something that makes you walk into a bank and open an account.
Absolutely.
It could be the color, it could be the way they make you feel. There might be something there.
Customer service.
Yeah. So, and then all of a sudden that bank is no more, and then you're now under another bank. So it's like, this was not what I chose. These people were an option, but I didn't choose them. So it really is from the back end most of the time. If a company is in trouble, they have limited choices. Who's going to help them? It's people that come to your aid that you choose from, if anybody comes at all. So it's really for the customer to now decide, do I want to remain with these guys? They would give you every reason to. So if you notice with the recent mergers, they tried as much as possible to make the customers feel relaxed and say, hey, we're still going to continue doing this for you. We're going to ensure that you feel this way and all of that, because they understood why people chose a certain brand over another. Yeah. So it still boils down to them. That's why that initial restructuring plan is really important, because it's beyond the profit for the consumer. Because if you launch and all the customers pull out, then the money that was invested in terms of the merger or the acquisition, things become unstable. So you must ensure that when you come back into the market, the consumer, the customer feels safe to continue doing business with you.
Many thanks for that submission. I really like that submission. So, but still on the path of brands, because I understand that Coca-Cola was restructuring and they had to cut about 2,200 jobs worldwide. So the Coke expects the job cuts to result to like an annual savings of between $350 million. I hope I'm very right with this, my quotes, and about also 550 million as well. I think it's between 350 to 550 million, so to speak. So how and when should they kind of make out between making profits and restructuring their brand or the organization?
Everybody is in business to make money.
Absolutely.
That's the truth, right?
Absolutely.
You want to make money. You want to give value for money. So yes, you might compromise at some point, but profits, you can't deny that we need money. You need money to run the business. So there's only so much a brand can take, really. So when you're talking about letting go of staff, unfortunately, these things might have to happen. But what the company usually tries to do is ensure that maybe for the next 3 months, these people are paid. So that gives them some time, before they're able to find new jobs, so that they're not just left out in the cold. Because also, these people have come to work with them. It's not their fault that the company is not making profit. Maybe that department has now been, considered redundant, and everybody there has to go. Maybe they've discontinued the product line. What happens? The company cannot just keep them just because they like them. They have to make the difficult decision of letting certain people go, but compensating them so that it doesn't hit them so hard.
Maybe because they're a structured organization, that's why they will compensate to their staff.
Exactly.
So, coming back home and talking about restructuring, I saw a lot of clips on your page. I visited your page, and I can say that you're doing wonderfully well.
Thank you so much.
I also see that, you use some colors, sometimes you deviate from that, use another color and all of that. And why is that, And for me, that's my first question. The second question I'm going to ask is that, business owners like you, depend on digital platforms, tools to drive your content, and to also attract customers. With the issue of ban, especially with Twitter, I don't know if your business organization is on Twitter, but I only visited your IG page. What do you have to say to that? What are the other options you think that you might want to employ? Also, there are also staffs that I want to believe that you've brought on board that are also helping you to manage your page, like, helping you with the extractions of your videos and the likes and all of that, and they lost their jobs. What do you think is next for Nigerian youth or Nigerian businesses with the first ban of Twitter? And how do you think that we can move forward from here? Okay. There are like 2 or 3 questions in one.
Yes, actually. Yeah. So, in relation to Nigeria, I always say that doing business in Nigeria, I call it variable Y, while every other country is X.
Okay.
What that means is that Nigeria is unstable. Anything can happen.
Sure.
So even when we're writing like business plans or research, we try to consider as many variables as possible, because anything can shell. Let me just put it that way. Anything can happen. So with the recent ban, it has affected businesses in ways that people might not even imagine. There are a lot of people whose jobs were on Twitter, right? You have people like influencers who are being paid to come on and advertise. You have people who, because even for us, sometimes we recruit for companies. And one of the biggest platforms where you can find people together at once is Twitter. So, people have to explore other channels right now. You have Instagram, you have Facebook, there's Google Ads. You might want to also leverage on your own customer database. So there's something I always say, which is this: wherever your customers are coming from or contacting you from, ensure you get their information and have your own customer database. Stop depending on third-party applications only. Those platforms are great for lead generation, but not for customer sustainability. So when you get them, have them somewhere and start to engage them on platforms that belong to you, right? You have your email servers, you can send emails to them, you can send SMS to them, have them somewhere that you can control them. Because if, for example, the government didn't even ban a particular platform, what if the owner of the platform decides he's not doing it again? That's another factor. So you have to make sure that you consider the different factors, the different variables that are possible, right, when running a business, to ensure that you don't fall into a ditch that you can't come out of.
All right, many thanks for that submission. Glad to know you guys are still right there with us. If you're just tuning in, this is Real Talk with Kike, and we are with Nkechi Alade, the principal business consultant at the Elvaridah, which is a business development and consulting company established and dedicated to building potential and existing businesses at all levels. At all levels, guys. She is on the show to discuss brand restructuring, but now we'll be deviating a little bit into personal branding and many other discussion regarding customers and clients relationship. So, we've been talking about restructuring, and I know that this is related to the employees and employers and how you're being perceived. Now let's move it forward a little bit to personal branding, because I know that most times the people who are behind the organization are the reason why most organizations also want to, partner with you. I always say to people, let me use myself as an example, that I'm not the best facilitator in Nigeria. The reason why people still giving us jobs or training jobs is because of who the owner of the organization is. So what advice will you give to people when it comes to personal branding and how to comport or to put themselves together? There are quite a number of challenges that are going on out there. There are times, I hate to say that, I know myself and Stanley bantered a little bit before we came into the studio today. You will see great big brands, women, musicians, artists. Should I say Tiwa Savage and Sheisha? Let me cite them as an example. I wouldn't want to go there. But these are big brands on their own. How will you advise people to, try to comport themselves when they are in public spaces for their own personal brand?
Okay, so yes, personal brands definitely affect the brand. And one thing that is very important is if you're not intentionally building your personal brand, you actually are. You're just not paying attention to it.
Okay.
Because, for example, I'll take you to, say, WhatsApp. When you think about WhatsApp, there's certain people that post certain kind of stories. If you want to laugh, you know who to check. If you want to know what's going on in Nigeria, you know whose story to check.
Yeah, right.
If you want to know what's going on in terms of saga, you know who to check. So those people, everybody has a brand, whether you like it or you don't like it. But when you start to do business, you have to become a little bit more intentional about how you want people to feel when they come across you, because they're seeing you and they're seeing your business. So you have to have your personal values, right? So there's something I always say to clients: if you're on a social media platform, how do you want people to perceive you? Is it as a woman? Are you going to be a strong woman pushing women things? Or are you going to be that man who is, head of the house, loving his family? Are you a religious person? Everybody, are you a foodie? Are you the person that just believes in taking care of your children? What exactly? You need to be intentional about it. Because if not, you find yourself where you don't want to be. So when you find that kind of thing, you sometimes go on some certain handles online and you see people using their business handles or their professional, personal brand handles to comment certain things, and you're asking yourself
or liking certain things.
Yeah, and you're like, because once you have done that, you have said, once you like, you're saying I endorse, whether you understand it or not, you endorse. And then people that have maybe looked at you a certain way are like, So you have to be very intentional about every step that you take, every post that you like, everything you reshare, especially when you're trying to build a strong personal brand, because it's a reflection of who you are, what you stand for as a person, and what you stand for as a business. If you think about very big brands, imagine you see a very big brand and then you see the person maybe liking a very strange picture. And you're like, maybe let's say a pastor liking a very strange picture. You'll be worried. He might not have done it himself.
Maybe it might be the person managing
but it means that somebody somewhere did not communicate. So there's something, you have to have a brand manual. What exactly is this brand known for? There's something we always say, there should be a tone, there's a language. Even if you're not doing it yourself, the person that comes on that page or follows you must understand that, hey, this is how we sound. There's certain words you don't use in this brand. There's certain places you must not find me. There's certain pictures you must not like. If there's a list of people that they must never go to their page, write it out. Because everybody does not know everything. Then in terms of, being in a mood today or not being in a mood tomorrow, we must, as business owners, we must learn how to compartmentalize. So when something is going on at home, it's difficult. Trust me, I struggle with this too. But when something is going on at home, you must be able to drop it at home and then come and be at work. And then you get back home and you continue. So it's being able to compartmentalize. It is difficult, but there's a discipline to it that we need to learn, especially as we're trying to build personal brands.
Nkechi, God bless you for coming to the studio. Because only if I'm tired. Sometimes I am. But I still have to put yourself together and just say, it's like we're actors. You put whatever thing that is happening to you personally behind and just give the people the show. And that's a good point that you raised earlier when you're talking about what to like, how to comment on social media, because you will be perceived as a person liking it. Now, fast forward, because I know that we are in a digital world and we cannot help but, talk about the personal brand. I went on your page and what struck me for the first 1 minute was she's an intellectual. So, and I'm asking, after looking at that, because I'm very attracted to intelligent people, I must confess to you, after that, I start looking at other things. Is she beautiful? How does she talk? Her mannerism, her dressing, and of course, you have high taste, because I noticed that as well.
Thank you.
So maybe this will be an open feedback. So what crossed your mind when, I'm sure you must have visited our page, so what crossed your mind when you went on our page? What's the feedback you want to give to us?
Yeah. Well, I'll say that when I went to the page, I just thought whoever was behind the page was a thought leader. That was the first word that came to mind. This person seems to be a thought leader. This person seems to be influential.
Okay.
Those were the words that came. And, up until today's interview, a couple of people have contacted, called, making sure that things are in order. So there seems to be a system in place, because I'm very big on systems and structures.
Absolutely.
And procedures.
Yes.
So somebody somewhere is paying attention to something.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that things are done essentially, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because, some people might say, is it not just? But there's no just when you're doing a business or when you're trying to build a brand. Because you can only give it your first impression once.
Yes.
We can't meet for the first time tomorrow. We've met. So my impression would stay and your impression would stay. You can change it over time. Maybe if, people become friends and all of that. But first impressions are important. So when people come to your page, like you say, how do you want them to feel? What do you want them to think? You have to put yourself in the shoes of the customer, because you are not your own client. So a lot of times we forget. We think that it's all about us, but it's about the person who is perceiving, consuming that content.
All right, sorry. At least you're not complaining about my lengthy captions. Thank you. Quite enough, because I write all my messages myself.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so quite a number of people are listening. Kike is too lengthy. Just a little something, man. Anyway, all right. Many thanks for the feedback.
Okay.
So it may sound weird, but reflecting on our country and recent crisis at the moment, I know restructuring applies to businesses and brands. So, however, how can restructuring apply to our context, and how can it, how would I put it, savage our country, especially when it comes to the crisis we are facing right now?
Well, the truth is, Nigeria is a country, a very big country. And I would say that each one of us has a role to play.
Absolutely.
We can't leave it in the hands of just one or two people, because
Yeah.
Nigeria is bigger than one or two people. So it starts with you and I obeying traffic lights. It starts with you and I to stop throwing things out of the window. It starts with you and I, treating our staff or employees better, because change really just starts with you and I. That's the best way I can put it.
Very
so
true.
in your organization as an employee, how are you treating your staff? How are you treating the people who work for you at home? How are you conversing? These are the things that will make Nigeria a
basic
better
things,
place.
yeah.
Right? If all of us don't start putting our hands and heads together, and as much as possible, if we can get into positions of power or to influence certain, your community, your unit, whatever it is you can do to contribute to your own quota, please do. I am trying my best to make sure I get to that level where I can influence decisions in terms of business and entrepreneurship.
You're influencing already, because you're yeah. All right, I understand that we don't have enough time already. So on a lighter note, I'm eager to know what's more about Nkechi. I see that you're married. I can see a wedding ring on your finger and all of that. So what spice up your love life? How do you balance your life with all the challenge, all the Austin and Boston of Lagos? So people don't think it's all about work. Of course, guys, we have another life after work. So Nkechi.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been married now. This year makes it 6 years. We've been married, but we dated for about 5 years before that. So we've been together for
over
quite
a
a
decade.
while. Yeah. So, but he's, I'll say he's my biggest supporter in everything I have done or do.
Good.
Always pushes me to be better, to do more. He's always saying, oh, you know what, if you need to be there, go. Whatever it takes, I would figure it out. So I appreciate that. But then we always still find time to balance in terms of course, if we need to watch a movie, go out. There are times when I have time, I have boundaries.
Okay.
There are times I wouldn't discuss things with clients. You know when to call me and when not to call me. Because I wouldn't expect to be speaking to a client at odd hours of the night when I should be with my family, So it's being able to have boundaries and make sure that you respect them and make your clients respect them as well, right? So that you're able to live a life at least that is fulfilling to a larger extent.
You're so lucky about that, and I say that because continue to uphold
Amen.
both of you together. I mean, you find genuine happiness and peace as you continue to live together. On that note, I think this is where I draw the curtains of the show, and I want to say thank you so much, Nkechi, for
Thank
creating
you.
time to be here today. It's
You're
a pleasure
welcome.
having your wealth of knowledge and your expertise on the show
Thank
today.
you so
Thank
much
you.
for having
I know
me.
that when my listeners are not calling in, I know that they're taking a lot of messages in because there was no caller today, and I know that they are pretty listening right now, and I'm sure that all Nkechi have shared with you are going to be applied to your daily activities, and I wish everybody the best. So our closing remarks, courtesy of Moluabi personality from Mike Spencer Goldberg, is that your brand is what others says about you and what you are when you're not in the room, which is part of all that Nkechi Alade have discussed thus far. So till I come your way next week, Wednesday, on this live inspiration studio. Please continue to keep real and stay safe. But again, you can catch me on Silverbird Television at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Your lunchtime.